perfect and innocent light of God. For all eternity, this is all that has been. For all eternity, this was what will be. The identity that has been made in the name of confusion and separation is a dream that truly does not exist. To live in a state of illusion is to change nothing. It has no power to change the truth of love. It can never interfere with the light of love. It can hold within it the perception of heartache. It can hold within it the perception of abandonment, the perception of lack, and the perception of enemies. The mind that lives in the belief of separation can make thousands of stories and believe in them all. And yet, in the light of love, the truth sees nothing has happened. No impact has been made. No changes have occurred. Only love remains. In this moment, finding the willingness of the heart to accept and embrace the harmony and peace of God. To find the willingness of the heart to walk the way of ease and peace. And that in every direction that your eyes land, you make the choice. Only love is real. Only love exists. In this moment, the willingness to embrace all of humanity as the innocence of God. Letting the heart bloom in compassion, in the truth that all beloveds are the perfection and innocence of all creation. The willingness to step into holy union, returning to the one heart. The willingness to allow divine alchemy of transformation to undo all concepts of separation, to invite in the miracle of love and let it have its way with you, to allow the miracle of love to illuminate the truth for you. In this moment, the willingness to surrender this day, all that you thought you knew about this day, all that you thought about in time, all that you perceived that had beginnings and endings, all that you thought was right or wrong, all that you gave approval to or disapproval, all now surrendered. And the willingness to surrender the belief in disapproval or approval, right and wrong, good and bad, more and less. Willingness to surrender time, all that you thought that it meant. The willingness to have the divine spirit of love reveal the eternal one without time. As you surrender this day into the hands of God, accepting that there is a power of love that as you surrender what you've made up, the power of love can heal. The willingness to wave goodbye to all identity that was made up in the name of pain and suffering. Letting the illusion drift into the nothingness that it is. In this moment, the willingness to surrender the future. A second from now, a minute from now, surrendering the future completely into the hands of God and letting everything unfold without being interfered with by a mind that is fearful, disguised in its knowing, but willing that in the hands of God the future will unfold in harmony. In a harmony that you could never have perceived or made through an ego of destruction. The ego's intent is to destroy. The ego's intent is to punish. The ego's intent is to have you see everything through loss. No love is possible there. But love is all that there is and is waiting to be embraced in the surrender to God. As you surrender through choice, through yearning, through the happiness of a new life, as you surrender, the future can unfold. And as you surrender humanity into the hands of God, no longer willing to believe that there is anything to control, there is the calling of love to breathe fully and deeply in the yes. This is the life that I call to. This is the life that I want. This is the truth that I invite. This is the grace that I embrace. This is my yes. Breathing deeply and fully, surrendering the heart into the hands of God, willing to bring the heart forward, consciously opening the heart, consciously saying yes to being undefended and focused in the heart, surrendering the mind into the hands of God. As you focus your attention and rest in the heart, the mind goes still, because you can't focus on thoughts and the heart at the same time. When you focus in the heart, you rest. You rest and allow. Undefended, nothing to defend, only love is real. And breathing deeply, surrendering all the muscles, all the ligaments, all the nervous system into the hands of God, purposefully surrendering and allowing the body system to be used only for love, to express love. Breathing. And surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. Where in the past you've allowed the emotional body to be run by the mind, believing in reaction, believing in impulse, believing in protection. Now, surrendering that emotional body to be used only by the light of love, filled with light, expressing compassion, charity, kindness, harmony, peace, and joy, all expressed with intention, with love. And breathing. Breathing into the feet, feeling your feet on the ground, willing to be here, because this is where your healing is. This is where you came to remember. You incarnated only to remember. The willingness to surrender this life, this incarnation, for its divine use, to be used only to remember. Surrendering all concepts of conquering the world, of winning, of proving. Surrendering all relationship to strategies and the concepts of self. In this moment, the willingness to raise the white flag, and the deep call to surrender, the willingness. I don't know what anything is for. I don't know how to look upon this world or on myself. I don't know what anything means. I surrender it all. And I ask for that guiding light to show me the way. Let me be the servant of that light. Let me surrender. And as you continue to breathe deeply and fully, the willingness to affirm that here In the infinite circle of love, we are one. No thought, no behavior, no reaction, no impulse, no concept can touch the union of love, can destroy the union of love, can limit the union of love. But every thought of separation, every thought of suspicion, every thought of caution, every thought of the need to react with defense says, I'm not willing to find peace and harmony and joy in this holy union of love that is ever present as the reflection of God. Only love. There is only one presence here. It is the entire universe of love. The sanctuary is filled with love because love is all that truly exists. The willingness to rest in love, to rest in the heart, and to accept that there is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. And within this life force we live and move and breathe as one heart, in the holy union of love. And breathing. Allowing, surrendering. Choosing to love. Choosing to learn to love. Choosing the guidance of love. Allowing this prayer to permeate into your awareness. If you are finding yourself forgetting the road of love, let every prayer, let every moment give you the opportunity to step back on the road of love and refuse the detours of the mind, to refuse the lies of the mind, and to come back and accept love. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. All I am set free. I can forgive, I am forgiven. My mother gives to me, my father gives to me. I'm here to receive, here to be forgiven. I will receive, I am forgiven. All I am, all I am, all I am is given to me. I'm here to receive, all I am, here to be given, all I am. To be given all that you truly are is to accept what has always been. There is no giving and there is no taking away in truth, but there is acceptance. and that everything of this universe was created by the light of God, that everything that actually exists, which is only love, was created and given as the gift of life itself, the acceptance and the embrace of true forgiveness, of forgiving everything that has been made up, everything that was made up and does not truly exist, now surrendered, no longer willing to be in a false life, in a false identity. I must love. I must love with all of my heart. I must allow the heart to burst. The Blessed Mother is the one who calls me to love with all my heart. Oh, my Blessed Mother, my Divine Mother, you hold us in the truth of forgiveness. We are here to remember the way of love. Divine Father, Creator of love, we say yes to the truth of forgiveness. We forgive all false identities, surrendering all false concepts of self, all false concepts of what we think we see, and ask for the forgiveness of love to burst open the heart and remember that there is only love, only oneness. Let us remember to love with everything of our being. The yes to love, the yes to ease. El devo amar no coração, o Virgem Mãe foi que me deu para eu amar a O Virgem Mãe, Divina Mãe, vos nos perdoe, nos pecadores, para nos amar com grande amor. Divino Pai e Criador, vos nos perdoe, nos pecadores, para nos amar ao Senhor Deus. The longing of the heart. The longing of the heart truly helps, because it brings you and your attention to what you truly want, that you only want to rest in the light of love, that you only want peace and harmony, and even the honesty of how tired you are from the journey of battle. To look honestly at the past and to see it for what it truly was. The lies of battle, the lies of deception, the lies of separation. And all the work that went into the past of trying to make bad into good, and finally accepting the center of the heart that there was no bad, and love is beyond even the good that the world makes. The truly wanting to come home to peace and harmony and joy and rest, for all eternity resting in joy. Hmm. We have not come to take prisoners. We have not come here to take prisoners, but to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. We have not come into this exquisite truth to hold ourselves hostage from love. Run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Run from the illusions of the mind that want your attention. Run and turn toward the light. No longer willing to be tempted by old familiar identities. We have not come to take prisoners. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that stand outside of our house and shout to our reason, oh please, come out and play. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light. We have not come to take prisoners. And yet, the ego identity unconsciously has that at the top of its agenda. Taking prisoners. The taking of prisoners is seeing others as enemies. For what else is a prisoner except a prisoner of war? A prisoner of war that is the problem. And the belief in war within this world touches everything. The belief in war runs the world of illusion. And everyone has a choice to step out of the insanity, to step out of all the beliefs of the past, where all the prisoners stayed behind their barbed wire, needing to be guarded, needing to be held in suspicion. It's time, by choice, to surrender the wars, to surrender the concept of wars that comes through the mind. One thought of murder and one thought of irritation have equal value to the ego. The ego convinces that with levels and degrees, some hatred is worse than other hatred. But in truth, it's all the same. The insanity of war does not discriminate too easily with who is taken as a prisoner. Everyone is taken as a prisoner in the illusion of separation, either by giving someone an identity that one is better than the other, one has more to offer, one has more to contribute, One is more talented, one is less talented, and each beloved, in the name of war, makes their own agenda of what that looks like. Each beloved has built a system of quality control of what that beloved holds to be good or bad. And of course, that agenda does not agree with anybody else's agenda. So other wars come from those agendas, and the wars keep going. Every beloved has a set of rules that they have made up in the name of war, in the name of taking hostages, to make their kingdom by what they think will give them the most advantage. But in war, you have to stay alert. You have to stay poised. You have to stay paying keen attention to anyone who tries to escape, or anyone who is disloyal, or anyone who is not holding up into what the mind has made up is essential. And all of this insanity is what the world does with war. And the funniest element of the relationship to taking hostages is that every beloved will shake their heads with pity at the others for the wars that are going on in the world, and saying, what is wrong with people? What's wrong with all these people that keep having wars everywhere? And all of this projection is to avoid the war that is being made within. And the war is all to deflect the self-hatred within. Generals that are busy with their wars can avoid their own self-hatred. The easiest place to be is to look outside. To the ego identity, that becomes the place of ease, to focus all attention outside. And yet, God, love, is calling you in. Calling you in. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that shout to our reason, please, please come out and play in joy and harmony and peace. Please bring charity, bring compassion, bring forgiveness and play. And if everyone brought forgiveness, and if everyone brought charity and kindness and harmony and peace, there would no longer be any hostages. There would no longer be any prisoners of a mad, insane kingdom. You would want to play because you would no longer believe in the self-loathing within. You would no longer want to take prisoners that will agree with you, or that you can turn into what you think you need. The willingness to offer love without conditions. We have not come into this exquisite world to hold ourselves hostage from love. And yet, that is what the mind's intention is to do, is to hold itself as a hostage from love through knowing. And yet love keeps calling. If you accept that your function is happiness, if you accept that your function is joy and peace, you would turn away from the jail and you would accept your function. Accept your function of refusing any longer to see the wars of the world as real, as valid, as authentic. But to realize that all the wars that you've seen out there have just been carried within. And now it's time for the healing of those erroneous beliefs that have no truth. I must love. It's so simple. It's so simple that it seems unreal because it's so simple. I must love. Run, my dear, from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Why do you need to run from something that doesn't really exist? There is purpose to that running. Because when your precious budding wings are just beginning to open, there isn't the strength in those wings to rise above the lies. So you must also run. Turn away from the mind that you carry with you. Turn away from the screaming of the ego lies, so that your precious budding wings can get stronger, so that you can have the practice of using those precious budding wings by offering love. Every moment that you offer love without condition, your precious budding wings get a little stronger. The heart opens just a little more. And you remember love. You have a new glimpse into the truth of love. But run from the mind that wants your attention to prove the past is right. Thank God it's not. Thank God the nightmare can fall away and love can be recognized. We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience. We have a duty to befriend the aspects of obedience. Obedience is something that the ego retaliates against, because to the ego identity, the war zone means obedience and losing. It means being a puppet. But once you've begun to accept that everything of the ego is completely insane and upside down, and that everything that it sees is upside down and insane, you will begin to recognize that the puppet is the ego, and that you are the puppet of a false identity that has no truth. None. That's where the puppetry is. The freedom is in love. Because love is who you truly are. To be free is to accept your birthright, to accept the truth of love that is waiting to be met within. When you're busy being a general in the war, all of the attention is outward. All of the attention is to shore up your army, to shore up your provisions, to shore up your barricades, to shore up your defense systems, to figure out your strategies, to map it out. It's a full-time job. And what you want at the end of that unconsciously is you want as the general to finally get the medals that you deserve for holding a good war and winning and being right. But these are the lies. Because the freedom of love is in recognizing there is no war. There is no enemy. There is no problem. There is no other. There is no other. This can't be understood. This can't be figured out. How could there not be another? I'm sure I'm right. There's others. And yet, there is only one. And to accept this divine oneness is to accept that your function is happiness and joy, as it is all of creation. One in happiness, one in joy. Not something you can understand. The mind that has made up separation has no possibility of understanding oneness. The brain itself will make a mockery of oneness, trying to come up with some worthwhile concepts that really have no worthwhileness. In the divine calling to rest in God, it is so exquisite, because when you accept to rest in God, it is your first breath to let go and sink and allow the power of the universe to gently, beautifully, completely have you. And for the first truth to enter your heart that there is nothing for you to do but to accept that only love exists, and to live through that resting, which is a resting. It's a resting of the mind. It's a resting into the heart. And it's a resting that has and carries no worry, that carries no sense of conflict, that carries no battleground. that carries no other, but just rests and allows the light of God to reveal itself, to let the pure vision of love open and accept the beauty and perfection that truly is. For we have not come here to take prisoners or to confine our wondrous spirits, but to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom, and light. To experience ever and ever more deeply means letting go ever and ever more deeply. Allowing ever and ever more deeply. Not being afraid of letting go, of surrendering, of putting your life into the hands of God and wanting that guidance of love, which is always available to show you the way. And to put your faith that you are surrounded in love, that the whole universe is wanting to serve your remembering, if you will join. If you will drop the defense system that says, I am separate, to no longer accept this, not even casually. But to give moment to moment everything into the hands of God. The willingness to accept that there is only love. If you hold a grievance, the light of the world is hidden. That's what a grievance does. And what is a grievance? It's every thought of knowing. It's assessing and giving value that is made up to different aspects of what you think you see. I like this, I don't like this, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. This is where the war germinates. And it has plenty of background to glean from. That's why love calls you to run away from the mind, turn away from it and say, no more. No more will I cherish these opinions that I make up, all out of the belief that they are my safety, because they're not. They have no safety in them. They only have war. And the war doesn't just show up right away. It builds. It builds its defense system. It builds until you see only the enemy. Because there's always going to be fear there. Fear will always be in charge. Why would beloveds hold other beloveds prisoner? Only because you fear them. Only because you believe that they are a threat to your ego. They are a threat to your defense system. Every war that has been fought in the name of the world has been fought in fear. Completely. Pushing fear aside and affirming that you're right doesn't change fear. It just looks different. And then fear can take anger, and fear can take resentment, and fear can take proving, and use it to affirm separation again and again. In the teachings of love, to truly accept, to surrender all attachment to being right, those are just words. But there is an entire healing. There is an opportunity of opening the door to light in such a way that you could not even imagine. By surrendering all attachment to being right. Because there is a huge attachment to being right. It's an attachment. It's an addiction to being right. It wants it so much that it can taste it. It's like an insanity that gets hold and just has to be. I have to be right. I've carried this belief of what I think I know, and I have to protect it. I have to defend it. I'm nothing without being right. I lose everything if I don't defend being right. And the most insane thing about being right is that you want to be right about separation, that you want to be right about scarcity, that you want to be right about lack, that you want to be right that there is anger and hatred in the world. You want to be right. That's insane. To accept, I hope I'm not right. I'm willing to accept that I'm not right. I put my faith, I put my allegiance that I want to be mistaken. I want to be mistaken about what I think I know. I want to accept the correction. I want to accept that I really don't know anything. And when I really want to accept that I don't know anything, healing really opens. How could this be that this could be so powerful? The power of the mind, whether it's used for ego or it's used in the truth of love, is the same powerful mind. To transform and give the mind to God is to relinquish the power that you have given to a false identity. A false identity. All I am is given to me. My father gives to me. My mother gives to me. I'm set free. That's in the acknowledgement, that's in the acceptance that all that you are, all that exists, was created by God. And God is love. God is peace. God is harmony. God is joy. And all the concepts that are not love don't exist except in your own mind. And the element of being right is the crux of the defense system. You have built and spent lifetimes trying to prove that you're right. You can feel the element of wanting to be right as powerful as any drug, as powerful as any temptation that the world could make. Being right holds it all together, because it holds your identity of separation at its core. To surrender being right is the dismantling of arrogance. When you no longer play the game of being right, arrogance begins to melt. Arrogance is fear. But it's a particular element that works with being right. But underneath, it's all run by fear. It's all run by fear. There's nothing else that's running it. But to be right is to have within it the willingness to destroy everything of truth, to hold your prisoners of war in place, and to hold your prison camp in place. Every war always has at its center being right. Always. And every element of war will continue to escalate with the intention of being right. Peace talks, completely not available in being right. The calling for peace, not even wanted, because the element of being right is such a drug. To conquer and have power in a perception of the world is the addiction. To believe that power, that you will have power if you can prove that you're right, that you will win. And that's what war is all about. Somebody has to be wrong. Somebody has to be the winner. Somebody has to be right. Every beloved, here's the more of the insanity. Every beloved has their own perception coming from their past. And they believe their perception is right. Every beloved believes their perception is right. Look through the lens of anyone and you will see a different perception. And everyone is holding out on being right all day long. I'm right about what I like. I'm right about what I don't like. I'm right about how I think things should be. I'm right about how I want things to be. I'm right about what's good and what's bad and what's more and what's less. And it's mind-boggling, because you can't unify anybody in their perceptions. You can look. You will try to find allies. It's a full-time job trying to find allies to agree with your perceptions of how you see yourself being right. But it's all made up. And it's all the recognition that we have not come here to take prisoners. That we have come here to surrender ever more deeply to freedom and joy. But it's a freedom and joy that you haven't met yet, that you haven't entered into yet. So it's faith, it's trust into the promises of love that are beyond anything of this world. And that's why to experience ever and ever more deeply our divine courage, freedom and light. Divine courage to say no more. I'm not willing to take any more prisoners. I'm not willing to be right any longer. I'm willing to just show up and rest in God and let God show me the way. Hell is mind-made. That's how powerful everyone's imagining is and fantasy, that you could make hell out of your own mind and then believe that it's coming from someplace else. That's the insanity, is to believe that it happened to you. We've all walked there. We've all believed that the hell that we believed in happened to us. And in that belief that it happened to us, we have to see ourselves as marked in darkness, as deserving pain and suffering. None of this is true. And when you come to the realization, this is all coming from my own mind. I'm making this up and attacking myself. And because I don't want to see that, I'm going to pretend that it's all projected outside. But in actuality, it's still just all here in the mind. And the hell is mind-made. But this is the liberation. This is the place of complete liberation, because once you accept that it's all in your own mind, then healing can really begin. Because you're not distracted by thinking that it's someplace out there. You're now connected to where the problem is. The problem is, I believe my own mind. It's not true, it's not real, but it's just old habit. And yet God calls you to turn away. Turn away from what you have made of the past and learn to love. To give your full attention, to give your heart, to give your devotion to the journey of love. Even to the point of being in prayer, and when the screaming of the ego reflects off of something outside and bounces back at you, you go, I'm not interested anymore. Not interested. I'm here to love. What can I offer in love in this moment? How can I expand and express this love? what's most helpful right now? My commander of love, show me the way. Let me be that servant and just offer love. To offer love without conditions is beyond concept in this world. Because love without conditions means that nothing has been attached in any way to the purity of love. Just to love for the sake of love. Because it's all that there is. And to sweetly be at that door of saying, no, I'm not going to attach anything to this. I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for a return on my investment. I'm offering because it's all that I can truly do in the truth of love. Let me be that servant of love and offer love. That's all. Holding grievances is an attempt to prove God's plan for healing will not work. There is a plan for healing. Everyone has the opportunity of healing in every moment. Miracles are ordinary. When you are not aware of miracles, it's because you are paying attention to something that is not real. Miracles are ordinary because they are always at your beck and call. They are always available. But when you're not beckoning and you're not calling to the miracles, you're beckoning and calling to something else that you made up from the past. And the call is again to come back and to recognize that grievances is an attempt to prove God's plan for healing will not work. It's so tempting. And there's so many to choose from. There's a never-ending supply. But there's nothing more painful than waking up in the morning with the same grievances that you've had for 20 years. Still there. Still there. Maybe it comes in another form. Maybe it comes under another name. Maybe it changes clothing. But the grievances are the same. And there's nothing more the essence of hell than to wake up in the morning with the same grievances, believing that you are without. And it's time. This is at the center. You wake up in the morning and that sense of being without starts its vibration, and everything in you is tempted to look through that lens of what is lacking, of what you don't have, and this is all the insanity of the mind, and this grievance is having its way because it is a grievance against yourself. It is saying you are not worthy of love and you will not in this moment bask in the truth of love. But it's also a grievance to the past that someone started this road to grievance and you're not letting them off the hook. That this is not all made up in this mind. This is the past. This is the grievances of the past that have to be fed and watered. But it's hell. It is hell, pure and simple. Anyone who has woken up in grievances recognizes that hell, that pain. that sense of hopelessness, that sense of aloneness, that sense of despair, betrayal. And it has to be turned away from. It has to be turned away from so that the grievances are surrendered and it's no longer accepted that the plan for healing that God has given will work, that everything can be healed, that there is nothing, because it is nothing. It is absolutely nothing. Those grievances are the same as all the wars. They're habit, they're addictive, they are very addictive. You take one grievance, you want another. You take one grievance and it opens the door to 10 more. They're all the same, but they like to have variety so that it looks like you're accomplishing something. And does the ego have a sordid upside downness in why would you want grievances? Why would you want to suffer? In lies. Because you've gotten so used to pushing them outside and believing that they were out there that you think you are protected by recognizing the grievances. That you believe that by recognizing the grievances you are recognizing your enemy. That your enemy is now more seen so that you can protect yourself better. But in actuality, the grievances are the attack, the self-attack. Because they're all about you. Every grievance that everyone holds is about themselves. The belief that you can be betrayed is the belief that you can betray. The belief that you can be in lack, that someone has not given you something, is the belief that you need to hold on to things and protect and defend what you have. The fear of being without. There's nothing outside. It's all self-made. And none of it is true. You are as God created you. You are as God created you. No grievances will ever change that. You can make up whatever you want, and it will not change that you are as God created you, which is love, which is innocence, which is wholeness, which is the power of the universe. And every master is calling you to experience ever and ever more deeply your divine courage, your freedom, and your light. Experience the light, because it's what you want. Whenever you consent to suffer in pain and see yourself as deprived or unfairly treated, you hold a picture of your crucifixion before God. We've all done it. Whenever you see yourself as unfairly treated or deprived, you hold a picture up to God of yourself being crucified. And you're saying to God, I'm right. This is real. This crucifixion is real because I say so. And yet there's a place within you that does not want this. Because there's no love. And what your heart is really longing for is love. And the love is waiting within. It's waiting within to meet the light within, to meet the love within, to open to that divine communion of love and refuse these grievances of scarcity, of lack, of betrayal, of being deprived, or believing that you're in danger of any kind, to surrender the identity of being a temporary body and the willingness to meet the Spirit. Meet this divine Spirit that is eternal, that has no limitation, that is the beauty of God, and that will return home to the oneness as one Spirit, one light, one joy. That's all that's happening. Nothing except love and joy and peace. The willingness to run from anything that may not strengthen your precious budding wings. Saying, no, I must love. I must love because my Divine Mother has called me to love. Because I say yes to walking that road of love, and then I don't want anything else. I say yes because it's the truth, and it's all that there is. Love. Letting the divine alchemy of love have its way with you. All you're doing is surrendering. Take this life and let it be transformed, because I'm not willing to carry anything anymore of prisoners of war, of battles. I say yes to love. Say yes to joy. I say yes to peace. I say yes.